Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you. Welcome.
Yeah, sorry about that. We had some significant technical difficulties there. Never trust a Marine with technology.
So Rich, good afternoon, and you're coming in on my link. So if you could just change your name, if you can just click on the three dots behind and just change your name, or I can probably change it for you. Give me a second.
Yeah, we should be able to change it.
Yeah, we'll change it for you.
Better idea.
Okay, Nikunj, take it away.
Yep, great. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon and good evening to all of our attendees. My name is Nikunj Trivedi, and I'm the president of Coalition of Hindus of North America, or CoHNA. CoHNA is a grassroots advocacy and civil rights organization dedicated to improving the understanding of Hinduism in North America, working on matters impacting the Hindu community by educating the public about Hindu heritage and tradition. For more information, please visit cohna.org, that's CoHNA.org, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at CoHNA Official. I want to thank you all for attending this very important congressional briefing and all our partnering organizations for supporting this briefing today. I especially want to thank Congressman Rich McCormick for joining us and supporting the community in this time of need. I also want to thank you for your prompt letter to the State Department on August 8th, urging them to take action and demanding accountability on this situation. Today's briefing will feature experts and those with families in Bangladesh to get a picture of the human rights crisis and violence against the Hindus in the country. Since August 7th, over 250 instances of human rights violations against Hindus have been reported, and more are coming. Reports ranging from large-scale temple vandalism and destruction to murders, rapes, lynchings, and ransacking of Hindu homes and businesses at the hands of Islamist mobs are constantly coming to our attention. The silence among media outlets and human rights organizations has been truly disturbing to watch. BBC and other media outlets are busy whitewashing the anti-Hindu nature of the violence and the blatant Hindu phobia on display in Bangladesh. If this was just quote-unquote political violence, how come Sunni mosques haven't been attacked since the Awami League leaders are practicing Muslims? The focus has been disproportionately on Hindus. Today, I miss George Harrison and the famous Indian sitarist Pandit Ravi Shankar. In August 1971, Harrison, the famous Beatle, and Ravi Shankar, along with artists like Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Leon Russell, Billy Preston, and many others, organized a major concert in Madison Square Garden to bring attention to the massive humanitarian crisis unfolding in Bangladesh and the need for international aid. Together, they put the crisis on the map and raised $250,000 from the concert and around $2.5 million worldwide. After that, more than 100,000 people were fed in the ISKCON temple in Dhaka for months. Sadly, this temple has been destroyed. Where is the outcry in August 2024 from the artists and celebrities who have otherwise raised their voices for the persecuted in other parts of the world? Is this because the persecuted this time happen to be Hindus? Let's turn to our first speaker, Utsav Chakrabarti, the Executive Director of Hindu Action. Utsav, please go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. And I thank Congressman McCormick for coming to this on such a short notice. You have been a friend to the Hindu community. I thank Rajiv, Nikunj, as well as the entire CoHNA team for being so prompt in making sure that this briefing happens. Congressman McCormick, we have spoken about this many times before with you, Anne, and Philip. I'm going to start off with 1971, because what we are seeing today brings us back the memories of what happened in 1971. So in 1971, nearly 2.8 million Hindus were killed in Bangladesh within a span of 9 months by the Pakistan Army and its allies, the Jamaat-e-Islami, who call themselves Razakars. As many of you know, and many of you may have been watching on TV, the current new turmoil in Bangladesh that led to the removal of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had protests where people were screaming, "We are Razakars." And that is why today we are looking at a specter of violence that could expand any time to the scale of 1971, when we lost 2.8 million Hindus. And that is why also it is important that we work with all possible leaderships in America today to make sure that 1971 is not repeated. But it is also important for us to understand that that was not the last time Hindus were subjected to such atrocities. In fact, the Hindu population has gone down from 17.5% in 1971 to 7.8% now. And this is because every time there's political turmoil and a regime change in Bangladesh, Hindus are the prime targets. In 2001, when the last time Sheikh Hasina was removed from power, there were thousands of Hindus who were killed and more than 600 Hindu women raped in just one village named Bhola. In fact, a few Hindu girls just survived because they could climb coconut trees. And that's the specter of violence we are looking at right now. So I want to highlight it for everybody listening to us today, that this is the time to ensure, to reach out and make sure that the White House, the State Department, as well as the Senate Foreign Relations Committee does not sit idle. In fact, Hindu Action, along with its allies over the past few days, had meetings with the State Department as well as with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee led by the Democrats. And I'm sorry to say, so far, I have not seen much response from them to make sure that Hindus are protected. So I just want to draw your attention, Congressman, to a few things that we could do immediately. And I think the first of them is something that probably you are already working on. And that is to have a House oversight hearing as quickly as possible, whenever it convenes, in the Foreign Relations Committee, to ensure that whatever the State Department has done in the first week and whatever the White House has done in the first week has some oversight. We want to make sure that they act to ensure that Hindus are protected in Bangladesh. I also want to draw your attention to efforts that we should immediately make to ensure that the streets are not ruled by Islamist mobs any further, which includes, if needed, sending peacekeeping missions. The reason I point this out is because in the media, it is often mentioned that what is happening in Bangladesh is of political nature. It's people attacking other people who were already in power and trying to take revenge. That is not the case, as Nikunj has pointed out. In fact, a good canary in the coal mine is how not only the Hindus are treated, but also the Ahmadiyya community is treated. In fact, there is violence happening against the Ahmadiyyas right now as we speak. And that is because the people who are ruling the streets, the mobs that are ruling the streets right now, are not just students. They are actually talibs. They are madrasa-educated students who are fanatic Sunni Islamists who are targeting Ahmadiyyas along with Hindus. So that's a good canary in the coal mine to call the State Department out on and ensure that that is not happening again. Another thing I want to draw your attention to, Congressman, is the need for us Americans to ensure that the Hindus in Bangladesh have a path to seek refuge in our country. In fact, just like India has the CAA law that ensures that Bangladeshis or people from Pakistan who are of minority faiths could seek refuge in India, we should ensure that our Lautenberg Amendment, which in the past included many people from Eastern Europe who were facing atrocity, includes Bangladesh as well as Pakistan, especially Bangladesh at this point of time, so that people, Hindus especially from Bangladesh who are seeking refuge in America, can find a space in this country. And I'm sure that all of our community leaders, the Hindu community organizations, will join in to ensure that they are received properly and taken care of. I also want to draw your attention, Congressman, to the fact that so far, not one person from the White House or the State Department has spoken out in support of the Hindus. Not one statement has come out in support of the Hindus. And that is really tragic, because there is a perception in the entire world that the new interim government led by Muhammad Yunus is very close to the White House. And if at this time the White House actually speaks out in support of the Hindus, a lot can change on the ground. So it is important that we hold the leadership accountable to ensure that this is taken care of. I know there are speakers after me who will talk in detail about what is happening on the ground. We ourselves have more than 200 incidences that we have reported so far, with all the details of the names of the individuals who have been targeted, the villages that have been targeted, as well as the perpetrators' names. So we will be sharing that with you, but I will give it back to Nikunj so that other speakers can give you further details. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Utsav. Next, we have Rana Banik, who is a student and a member of the CoHNA Youth Action Network. Rana, please go ahead.
Thank you, Congressman, for joining us. I am speaking to you from Nashville, Tennessee, but my family, whole family lives in Bangladesh. Like Utsavji mentioned, the root of the problem somewhere lies in 1971, but there has been a democratic transition in 1990. And just to simplify the things, there has been two courts of political parties in Bangladesh. One is Awami League, who ran on secular agenda. On the other hand, there has been the alliance of Bangladesh Nationalist Party and Islami, the party that committed war crimes and atrocities in 1971. So even after the democratic transition, the Hindu population in the Bangladesh literally had very few options to vote for politically. So due to the secular policies of Awami League, they largely tilted towards Awami League's electoral bloc. Now, when Sheikh Hasina and Awami League lost election in 2001, I still remember hearing from my parents like there has been like widespread post-poll or post-election violence all over the country after the loss of Awami League, targeting like Hindu population, arson, looting, and even cases of horrible stories of rape and atrocities. So when Sheikh Hasina came back to power in 2008, like Hindus hoped for relatively safer environment. And as the country gradually radicalized, so the Awami League radicalized itself. But under the Sheikh Hasina 16-year rule, Hindus suffered large-scale anti-Hindu atrocities also, including the violence of 2021. That was one of the largest violence before 2024. Even some of Sheikh Hasina's own ministers and officials were involved in land grabs and atrocities of Hindus. As a result, many, especially the young ones, felt a sense of betrayal. And when she became increasingly kind of autocratic, there was very little appetite for us Hindus to stand behind her. And this sentiment was evident during the quota reform movement, which began in the mid-July, initiated by college and university-going students. And even in the first few hundred casualties, 200 plus casualties of the quota reform movement, the 16 plus students were mostly from Hindu community, representing that sizable Hindu students and young college professionals or young professionals participated in the quota reform movement, signifying that they want change too. But after things escalated, the quota reform movement transformed into a movement to oust Hasina. This reminded us eerily back to the post-election violence of 2001, when Sheikh Hasina fled the country on August 5. From 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., lawlessness reigned all over the country. Police stations were attacked, looted, and set ablaze. Local officials and police officers were mercilessly tortured, beaten to death on the streets and from bridges and statues to see themselves open to the public. For 8% of Bangladesh population who are Hindu, around 13 million people, literally a nightmare unfolded. Many Hindu families, including mine, hid themselves or locked themselves inside homes in fear for the next 3 or 4 days. Those who are less fortunate fled to the jungles or borders areas at night. And even though we are far from violence, a lot of my friends are here, a lot of my colleagues are here in America or in Canada, we still feel the pain. I would just to give an example, one of my friend's father living here with his younger son, my friend, when he heard about the Sheikh Hasina's resignation, knowing the dire situation for Hindus, he frantically called back home to reach his sister and his elder son. He literally scolded his son for guarding the village temple and begged him to run to safety, as Hindu temples and idols are especially the targets of radicals, targeted by radicals. His sister's house was already at risk, The stress of the news and the shock of the events of August 5 led the 65-year-old man to suffer a heart attack on August 6th. And right now he's still undergoing treatment with a stent in his artery. In many rural areas, we heard Hindu families being asked to pay protection money. Like one family was extorted for like 1 million Bangladeshi taka currency by people from their own neighborhood. And a Hindu goldsmith was asked for protection money by 2 people. This incident was also documented or reported by the Reuters newspaper. There were many cases of women and girls being abducted. One of my friend who lives in Bangladesh knows a family whose young daughter was abducted on August 6th. They found her 2 days later, unconscious and abandoned behind their home. Now, there's no need to elaborate what might happen to her or what she has gone through. The family, shamed and stigmatized, decided to flee in India quietly. So these cases of abduction and sexual violences are difficult to document because as victims often hide them due to social stigma, much like during the 1971 war. In Susan Brown Miller's book, Against Our Will, Men, Women, and Rape, she addressed the stigmatization of rape victims, especially in rural areas. For the next 3 or 4 days after August 5, there was literally no law and order. The emergency numbers provided by the authorities were either unreachable or overwhelmed with the amount of calls. In many cases, the police refused to respond, fearing for their own safety, as a lot of cops, as I already mentioned, cops and law officials and Army League workers were targeted specifically for eventual attacks and violence. I received verified handheld videos from friends on social media showing Hindu families being locked inside their homes as a form of punishment and intimidation to force them into giving up their land or property. All disputes turned violent during this volatile situation. And in many cases, Hindu houses were torched by their next door neighbors, who were often known to the victims. There are literally videos, people naming that I know him, he torched my house, kind of in that kind of scenario. My college friend who, just to give another example how things are, or a few days ago, my college friend who works in the city or the city corporation told me that he hadn't slept for 3 days after August 5th. Despite the chaos, authorities instructed people to return to work on August 6th to project an image of normalcy. My friend texted me saying, like, I am working during the day and also guarding my local neighborhood at night. So this has been a very difficult scenario for Hindus all over the country. To give the full picture, according to the top minority rights body in Bangladesh, the Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council, 54 out of the 64 districts in Bangladesh saw direct ferocious attacks on Hindus and other minorities up until August 10th, as latest. To put this into perspective, according to Atlanta Jewish Times, Jews represent 8% of the population of Georgia's 6th congressional district, the same percentage as Hindus in Bangladesh right now. Now imagine Jewish house being burned, neighborhoods, businesses looted, vandalized, and synagogues set on fire. Young Jewish women abducted and families driven to the borders of Tennessee, Alabama, and many other places, simply just because they are Jews or because how they vote or voted before. There is literally no other reason. I understand it is difficult to imagine in a scenario in a country like America, but this has been the grim reality for Hindus in Bangladesh for a very long time. I would say that I hope the situation changes, and thanks for CoHNA and all over the world, and so that our family can feel safer. I would give my mic to Nikunj. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Rana, very much for your thoughts. Next, I'd like to invite Ashok K. Karmakar, who is the chairman of the board of directors for the Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council USA, a NGO in special consultative status at the ECOSOC of the UN. So please go ahead, Ashokji.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks to CoHNA for arranging this, and Congressman McCormick, I really thank you on behalf of my organization and on behalf of Hindus in Bangladesh for agreeing to for this briefing. Before you start, I would introduce myself a little bit because I'm a human rights activist and a practicing lawyer. Actually, I do practice immigration law. And before coming to the USA, I was a judge in Bangladesh for 5 years and worked in the Ministry of Law. So I am mentioning this because I know the government of Bangladesh from within. So already it has been discussed that how it happens, and it is not the very first time. It is kind of a legacy of Bangladesh that and the continuation of persecution of Hindus in Bangladesh that has been going on forever for all the successive governments have been doing the same way. So it's a kind of ethnic cleansing going on, and the rape, grabbing lands, and actually you can see all the time whenever there is some attacks on Hindus and the media, and everybody will come up and say, oh, you know what, it happened because of land dispute. So land dispute, there is no dispute that way. They will make a dispute, and the judiciary is biased. I can tell you, even a member of the judiciary is inherently biased against Hindus. So even if you go to the to the judicial process, and ultimately you will not get that justice. And I always give that example. Say, for example, that the land that is $100,000 or $100,000 worth, and you start fighting for that, even if it is your land, and you go to the justice system and you lose $200,000 to save it, then ultimately you lost it. So they will always tell you, oh, it is nothing but land dispute, but it is a tool for ethnic cleansing of Bangladeshi Hindus. So what happens this time? The Bangladeshi Hindus have been disenfranchised for long. Actually, most of the time they could not even cast their vote. And Sheikh Hasina, the dictator, she actually made it, she disenfranchised the whole Bangladeshi community, majority and minority as well. That's why I think she had to go through this, and she had to flee the country. So at this point, I see that lots of things are happening in a bad way. My family, my brothers, sisters, all siblings are in Bangladesh. So last 3 days, I'm talking about 5th of August to 8th of August, every single day. And I just have been talking to them. I'm trying to, what's happening, and they locked themselves in. And my brother's business have been vandalized. And someone who the neighboring or shop owner, he said, okay, you know what, we saved your shop, now you have to give us 50,000 taka. So this is not only him. Actually, I am hearing from many of my compatriots, people from Bangladesh, that they're asking for money. Actually, in Islamic terms, that is called jizya. Jizya kor means something that to save the unbelievers, they have to pay a tax. That is jizya tax. So my point is here that this is not something new. And so what we can do, what actually US can do, Congressman, you being a member of this Foreign Relations Committee, I think you have lots of things to do to save the humanity, to save Hindus. First of all, and also before going into that, I should say that all these things being happened with the help of DGFI, the organization that is supposed to discipline the armed forces, but unfortunately they are the ones who drive, actually who rule the country, and they are the behind all these enforced disappearances, forced killing, and everything. And the journalists cannot even express their voice and nothing. So I would like to ask, the U.S. Foreign Relations Committee to, if it is possible, to include them in the entity list, because these are the people that who are violating human rights in Bangladesh, and also I should mention that what happens in Bangladesh, they are saying now that the mob that they really attacked all political leaders, and some of them are Hindus, but that is not true. Nearly narratives of the fact. The true narrative is that almost all leaders of Awami League, those who are Hindus, they have been victims. When even the higher Muslim higher leaders from Muslim community, they have not been targeted, or they're fine. So this nature is, you can see it is targeting the Hindus. And also, I would like to mention the timeline, because on 5th of August, the Chief of Army said that he was taking the control of the administration. But the interim government did not take oath until 8th of August. These 3 days of vacuum being created, it seems to me that it was created deliberately, so that all this carnage can go on without, go on and on. So, and it took 3 days for them. And before doing this, what they did, they actually attacked police. So there was no police force at all on the street or anywhere. So these miscreants could go scot-free. They could do whatever they wanted to do, and they did it that way. So I think there should be an investigation that why this, after how this happened, these 3 days. Actually, it is still going on, but not in that scale. So an investigation should go and determine where and how they created this vacuum to allow this to happen. So that is another thing. And to stop this in the future, and to bring the culprits to the justice, what I would like to request the U.S. government. First of all, so is there any way to introduce this refugee that consider them that the Bangladeshi Hindus living in Bangladesh are refugees, so that we can bring like anyone, like people from Afghanistan or Ukraine. That can be one thing. And also we can see that you can, if this happens and this continues, the humanitarian intervention should be a possibility, because without intervention from the global authority of human rights violation in Bangladesh will never end. It will come in a different way, because when the whole society is in favor of this kind of happenings, all these massacres and this persecution, obviously there are people that who stand against it, but their number is very low and they are not very effective as well. They cannot even protect themselves. So at this point, I would like to say, and I would like to urge the U.S. authority, and Ushab Chakraborty already mentioned that the present government, chief of the present government is very close to White House. That means we have lots of leverage, U.S. have lots of leverage, it should be, and they should come forward to protect Hindus whatever. And thank you very much. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ashokji. Next, I'd like to invite Deeban Deb Chaudharyji, the President for the Human Rights Congress for Bangladeshi Minorities, or HRCBM, an NGO in special consultative status with ECOSOC of the UN. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Can you share the slide? Oblige the opportunity to speak before you. Thank you, Congressman Rich McCormick and CoHNA for arranging this congressional briefing. So let me start with saying what happening in Bangladesh is nothing isolated. It's a systematic annihilation of minorities in the country. I will give you a short story, and I will not go brief because everyone else has talked about Bangladesh current situation and anarchy that is going on. But I'll tell you why I founded this organization. In 2001, I reached out to refugee camp in India, where there has been, at that time, actually, there has been lot of things going on in Bangladesh. Similar type of anarchy was going on in Bangladesh. So I reached out to refugee camp, and I met with a lady. Her name was Shefali. She had 2 children that she was holding. And she told me, Babu, I'm just leaving. I already dead. I've been hounded down. I've been deflowered. My husband has been killed. And she gave me a blank eyes, as if that she has no wish to survive, but she is living because of these 2 children. That broke my heart. And that's when I kind of got together with my friend and founded this organization in 2003, which is in charitable status in the United States under IRS 501c3. That said, 2006, the organization received consultative status with the United Nations. Since 2003, we filed a series of litigation against government of Bangladesh, alleging that there has been genocidal crime happening years after years, years after years. What I'm describing right now is the agony of 78 years. Nowhere, there is no example in the world where you will find millions of people subjugated for nearly a century. And that's without proof. I'm not saying. We filed in 2022, we filed before International Criminal Court for prosecutor investigation into the systematic annihilation that is going on in Bangladesh. Put to that, the current situation and anarchy to this, every opportunity Islamists finding, they're hounding down Hindus. And that's continuing. And we have done this. We have served orphanages, and those, you know what we have served on the orphanages? Gang-raped children from 6-year-old to 12-year-old. Nowhere in the world, the mass scale of children that we have placed in the orphanages and provided rehabilitation service is unbelievable. I couldn't describe it because we are doing it for 27 years. Years after years, we have to do the same thing. Next slide, please. So this kind of tells you how it is happening. 78 years of hounding down on Hindus. Massacre, rampage, looting, arson, anything you can name goes in there. 1946 it started, these are the highlighted events. 1950, 1964, 1971. 1971, just take a look at it. 400,000 women was deflowered. Gang rape, brutally gang raped. Out of which 150,000 that we have known that kind of got forced abortion. Instantly, when Indian Army went there, instantly 30,000 women and girls committed suicide. And rest of the 200,000 and 220,000 women, we do not know. They were outcast from the society, and we do not know where they are right now. So, and of course, there has been millions of refugees in India during the time. Nobody have recognized them. 80 to 90% of them were Hindus. That continues. 1972, there was a riot right after 1971 independence movement, and continues. 1989, 1990, you see this lady's face that shows she was brutally murdered and her body was kind of sliced down, not only hounded down, not only pillaged, over 100 people pillaged on her, and then they slice her down, right? You can see her body in there. This picture speaks 1,000 words. This is the situation of 1990. 1992, it happened, continues. 2001, this is the lady that I am talking about, that with the children. You see on the picture on 2001, who I met with, right? And I talked with. And that's when I founded this organization. It's an agony. It's a heart-rendering stories. I do not know how much I can say. You see the child in 2004. Not only the massacre happened, this shows a Chakma child, a little child, maybe less than a year old. You see that wound on his leg, on the knees. That speaks the volume. How a human being can do. Not only they burn down the villages, not only they slaughter human beings, not only they hounded on women and pillages on them, they also do not let go a little child. They want annihilation. That's what it is for. 2015, 2021, 2024. It continues. It's a genocide that the world never recognized. And it's going to continue today. And you can go to the next slide, and I can tell you what we find out from there. We put this submission, ongoing, recurring genocide, before United Nations. It was circulated in General Assembly. To date, it was published in 2024. Our allegation that it is a systematic annihilation, it's a genocide that is happening in Bangladesh. Although it is being published, although it is being circulated throughout the world, United Nations didn't reach out to us yet. What step they are going to take? Next slide, please. So what's happening in Bangladesh? Culture of impunity. Past didn't leave present because there was no justice. Justice cannot be attained in Bangladesh for anybody. Religious intolerance. It's within the very fabric of society. It's decaying the society how Islamization is occurring. And innately anything you say, they'll say nothing happened in there in Bangladesh because this kind of intolerance is ingrained with the social fabric. Prejudice against minority.
Dimanji, my apologies for the interruption. If you can wrap up in a minute, that would be great, because we also want to finish with the other speakers and get the congressman to share some comments. Thank you.
Yeah, so last statement, state of denial, lies, and decisions, right? That said, I would like to appeal to Congressman McCormick. Next slide, please. Appeal would be that we recognize mandate refugee of Bangladesh minority. We recognize them under United Nations Human Rights Statute. If we recognize them within the country, there is a statute that we could recognize. And if you can kindly help raising this to US Congress, it would be great. If that support we get, we can raise it before United Nations as well. We need immediate intervention from US for humanitarian services and protection for safety and security of Bangladeshi Hindus and other minorities in the country. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dimanji.
Obliged.
Next, I'd like to invite Pridita Saha. She's a Bangladeshi Hindu whose family resides in Bangladesh and has been living there under fear since the fall of the Sheikh Hasina government. Please go ahead.
Thank you, CoHNA. Thank you, CoHNA, for organizing this. And thank you, Mr. Congressman, for taking your time to meet with us today. First and foremost, I would like to let you know that I have no political background, neither I understand anything about politics. However, I mean, again, I'm a citizen of America. I live here. My family is here, but I have extended family who are back home. And for last few days, it's been nightmares. It's just nightmare for them, for what they're going through. It's been nightmare for us to sleep here, waking up into messages, making sure that if they're okay or not. You know, so and it's just not about this last few days. It's an ongoing thing. It's not a separate incident. It's a ongoing thing that's going on, as everyone else mentioned. I don't want to go back to the same things that everyone mentioned already, but it's been happening for years after years and after years. I don't know who the government is. I don't know who the opponent is, or doesn't matter for a citizen or for like a working class citizen or anyone from like me. All we care is about our safety or our family's safety, which is, I don't feel we have that. And a lot to do with that is I just feel like it's because of lack of justice that's going on. I don't think there's ever been any justice for what has been happening back home in Bangladesh with the Hindus. So also just wanted to share, luckily, I mean, with all this mobbing and everything that's going on back in Bangladesh, I wouldn't go through the statistics or anything. However, on a personal level, my family's, my relatives, doors were knocked. They weren't able to get in. And luckily, they're unharmed right now. But who knows until when? And thankfully, because they weren't able to get in, they were unharmed just for now. But that doesn't let the fear go, right? They live in fear every day. Again, anytime there is a political change or any movement that goes on, it's Hindus are the easiest target. again, it's probably because there is no justice there. So I just wanted to speak on my my personal level and what my relatives are going through. Again, my family is here. I would love to take my kids back home, but sometimes for them to visit and but with everything that's going on, if with the wiping out Hindus and things like that, I don't know if I can. And that's something that I don't agree with. I am Bangladeshi more than anything. So I would love to have that culture within me and within my kids. I want to pass it on. And I don't feel safe at this point to do that. But thank you for taking the time. And again, my expectation is getting some accountability or getting some justice for what's happening, because it just goes on, and it's one incident after another, and it's the repeating incidents one after another, without any justice. So I would like to pass it back to Nikunji. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, heartfelt. Hearing all these testimonials is making me emotional. But I want to finally welcome our last speaker, Shama Haldarji. He's the president of the Michigan Kalibari Temple. Please go ahead, Shamaji. You have a couple of minutes to give your comments. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to Congressman and thanks to CoHNA to inviting me. I'm the president of Michigan Kalibari. I live in Michigan, and this temple is in Warren, Michigan. There is around 600 plus Hindu family from Bangladesh live in Michigan. And most of the people that come to our temple. And in excess of that, we have some definitely a big percentage from India and also the rest of the world. So I have a very good tie with Bangladesh because my extended family still live there. My brothers, my sisters, they are there. And I visit Bangladesh every year for the last couple of years. I like to brought the real scenario is in 1947, the percentage of Hindu in Bangladesh is 30%. In 1971, the percentage of Hindu in Bangladesh is 20%. Currently, not currently, actually last 22. The percentage of Hindu in Bangladesh is 7.85%. If this trend continue, the next 20 years, Bangladesh there will not be any Hindus living there. So we need to stop that. Considering the loving for the country, I love my country, Bangladesh. Most of the Hindu people there love their country. And during our 1971 liberation, the most sacrifice came from Hindu. I was a small child at that time. I was 10 years old. When I came back from India, refugee camp, and I noticed all Hindu houses are burned. 2 of my family members was killed. So I was questioning my parent, why not other houses are burned? Why our house is burned? So I read a lot of articles. More than 80% of the house burned, looting, losing the life, the women are raped, are from Hindu. But at that time, we were only 30%. So that's why I like to emphasize this, that our sacrifice, our love, our dedication for our country, motherland, it's much higher than any other religion in Bangladesh. Now, in Bangladesh, what happened? So anything's happen, any political unrest, political things happen, the celebration is affecting going towards the Hindu. Doesn't matter. It may be any political party, Army League, BNP, it doesn't matter who lose, who win. The celebration is always targeting the Hindu people. So that's a very big thing. So we need to stop that. What I noticed, because what's the situation going on in Bangladesh, I'm following very closely. So I understand, a lot of people are talking to save Hindu, but in reality, Nothing happened. They gave some phone number. If you have in problem, you can call them. First of all, if you call them, you can't able to reach them. If you're able to reach them, they will not come before the incident. They will come after the incident. After the incident, they will come and they will force you to talk what they want you to talk. So that's another problem. So basically, it's not helping anything. My in-law family, my father-in-law's families, their house is vandalized. There have a couple vehicles parked on their house. That's all burned. They try to burn the house. Why? That's a fourth floor house. There's almost like 40 people. If they burn the house, then maybe we lose a lot of people from that house. But fortunately, they didn't burn the house. But it's a lot of vandalism they did. My father-in-law family, they're in Noakhali. I'm from Sylhet. So these things is going on for a long time. When I worked there in Bangladesh, I'm an engineer by profession. I worked there. I always consider myself as a second-class citizen. So anything got, I don't get the promotion right time. I don't get the, so this is things happening every day. So basically, this is my request to the congressman and everyone. We need your help to save ourselves, to allow us to live in a prestigious life. And we love our country. We don't like to leave our country. We like to stay in our country. So that's all I need to tell. Thank you very much for inviting.
Thank you, Shamaji. And I want to thank all the speakers for giving their insights, as well as the emotional appeal for justice for Bangladeshi Hindus. I'd like to welcome Rich McCormick to kind of give his thoughts on this and maybe any questions he may have. And I want to thank him for patiently listening to everything that we have been saying and what the community has been asking for. So, Congressman, please go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you. Sorry for your heartfelt loss. I hate to hear about things like this. As a veteran of the military since 1990, being an active duty guy, being to 50 different countries, a year ago in Bangladesh, actually talking to the government, both the majority party as well as the minority, basically getting together with the minority party and talking about their grievances, about their worries, about the oppression of the government that was just chased out. I mean, and then seeing what they were celebrating, I believe, I can't remember what anniversary, I can't remember if it was the 25th anniversary or whatever of the slaughter of that family's parents. The daughter who was in power happened to be in Germany, I think, for school at the time. There's no reason she survived that. So witnessing that and hearing about the violence that existed during that, what you guys alluded to, actually marching the streets of Atlanta with several Hindus here in protest of the violence. I think we were doing it in either 2021 or 2022. We went downtown and we marched to try to draw attention to the violence that was going back then. And you could say it's worse now. So I think probably of any congressman in the United States Congress, I think I probably paid more attention to this than most, if not anybody. Literally taking the only and the first freshman Codell to Bangladesh first, to march the streets first, to also, I mean, to recognize that in Bangladesh you have the largest refugee community, ironically, of Muslims that were pushed out of Myanmar by Buddhists. So strange. 1 million people living off of $8 a month per person. There's 26 million refugees in the world right now. That's conservative estimate. That's a record, and it's going up every year. We have massive violence all over the world. You can see what's happened in Sudan and other places that's horrific. One of you suggested that we accept refugees from Bangladesh who are trying to flee the violence. There's the problem right there. 26 million people want to come here. And over 10 million have come here this year claiming asylum for violence that occurs in Nicaragua or Venezuela or Colombia or wherever they come from across our southern border, which creates a conundrum. And really, I'm just going to address the realities of our world right now. It is a difficult world, and the United States cannot. We're not taking refugees from Ukraine. We're not taking them from Palestine. We're not taking them from a lot of places around the world who are truly in desperate need. We've encouraged Egypt and India and other places right next door to these places, including Poland, who's taken Ukrainian, to absorb those populations, because we are absorbing a massive amount of people as it is. And it's just, there's no political stomach for it. I'm just being realistic here. So I don't want to ever promise you guys something that's not realistic. What we have done in my office is, you've seen, we reached out to the State Department. We want to put pressure on as you know, I'm a voting member of NATO, but I want to put pressure on the United Nations to reach out and look for ways to intervene. The United Nations has forces. They have ability to deliver food and shelter, and actually can protect people from violence. The problem is that it's a complex issue, and the United Nations has never been friendly to a lot of folks who have been in dire need. Look at what's happening in Haiti right now. Haitians have been slaughtered wholesale. Their cities have been ransacked. I have a missionary that I support there who's hiding in the bushes next to his church because people will kill him and take everything they have. His family escaped, but he has stayed behind. This is the reality of our world right now. It's a fallen world. It's horrible. I wish there's more I could do. I've actually, because of the proximity to Haiti, I've asked, I think we should be in there with troops. We've done it before. We should do it again. Of course, we can't be the world's police, but I think there are forces out there that are set to actually come in and to intervene. We've done it before in Bosnia, Herzegovina. We've done it in places where there is wholesale slaughter of a people. We didn't do it very well in Rwanda. If you remember, almost, I think about 750,000 to 1 million people died. I was there in '94, so I'm not naive to this process. When that many people were killed, and most of them by machetes, talking about women who were raped and then killed, and their babies torn out of their arms and dashed into stones. This was back in '94. So I've witnessed this firsthand. I hate it. It makes me sick to my stomach. I will continue to fight with you and for you. And I will say that if you want good immigration policy, by the way, look no further than our HR 6542, which I want you to put pressure on Jim Jordan and other folks to join us and get that across the finish line. It will help us with legal immigration to the United States without limitations, unfair limitations that are already placed on us from antiquated systems of immigration. But quite frankly, we have a broken immigration system, as many of you already know. But we're fighting. It is absolutely a priority. In our district, I think we have over 100,000 Hindus. I think we're now going to be taking on Johns Creek. We'll probably be around 14% of our population, of my constituency. So it is an extremely important constituency to me. It's important for me to represent, and also just to be a good human being, to make sure that we're taking care of people who are oppressed, and not just oppressed, but being raped and murdered and chased from what they've earned. That is as un-American and as unhuman as you can get. So we'll continue to strive with everything we have to put pressure on the powers to be disciplined and to intervene wherever we can. You're right. The administration has showed no stomach to ever go up against anybody who's Muslim right now. They don't want that fight. They literally, it doesn't matter if it's against Israel or against Pakistan or against any country that seems to have this very violent upgrade. You could see it with the application of Sharia law here in the United States, where people get lambasted and vilified if you stand up against it. Quite frankly, they seem to bully us in the United Nations. And I thought it was laughable when you have countries like Sudan who have been put in charge of human rights in the United Nations. Historically, they've picked some real doozies as champions of human rights, and some of the worst human rights violators are Muslim countries. And what they've done to their women and to their minority populations is not just egregious, it is immoral. So I don't have too many questions. I've actually been following this very, very closely. I've been following this for many years, actually. And like I said, you won't find a congressman more plugged into what's happening in Bangladesh than myself. I wish I could do more. Realistically, I wish I could do more, but I'll continue to fight with you side by side to do whatever we can to address this issue, and I'm wide open to ideas.
Thank you, Congressman. We really appreciate your support. I think it's, this is a crisis, it's a humanitarian crisis, as we know. And I think the United States can do a lot more, for sure. Yes, it's, there are different policies that can be implemented through the White House, the State Department, and many international agencies. So I think we will lean upon our elected officials to at least help us there, because I think there's a lot that can be done that as, the current administration can help with. And there needs to be that pressure, as you rightly said, and the letter that you had written does talk about that accountability. So we want to thank you for listening to us and joining us today as we, continue to fight for the rights of Hindus in Bangladesh, as well as this challenge, this humanitarian crisis, which has, in the past led to genocide of Hindus, and it's on the path to doing the same as we go forward, right? You could see a systemic targeted violence against that minority community, as well as other minorities that are in Bangladesh. So we want to thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to working with you and other offices. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Same to you. Blessings to you. Continue to reach out to us. Give us ideas. If there's anything else we can do, we'll continue to fight the good fight with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we want to thank you all for attending the webinar today. And we look forward, if you have any questions or if you would like to get involved in this, please contact us at CoHNA.org, CoHNA.org, or info@CoHNA.org. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
So for the participants, we will terminate the webinar at this point. And I don't know, Nikunj, if you want to have a debriefing session at a different time.
Yeah, we can just have we have a WhatsApp group set up. I'll just send a Zoom link for a separate one to quickly debrief.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Rishabh, let's end the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you very much.